in today we are finishing up this fold form sword that I have been working on, and this is a Gladius blade with a fantasy style hilt. In the last video we did the detail work where we knocked in all the patterning, the fuller, gave it our final blade profile. We got the guards and pommel, some decorative work done on them, so some vines on the guards and some vines with fruit on the pommel. So today we are going to go ahead and we're going to get all the grinding, the heat treat, the handle, all that jazz done to where this is a finished blade, to where we can be ready to test it for the next video. So the next video obviously is going to be our cut testing, which is always my favorite part. I don't know about you guys. We do have some selenite, which is a very soft crystal, and my plan for this is to crush it up into a powder, not the whole thing but just enough to do what I'm planning. Crush that up into a powder, mix it up with some epoxy, and epoxy fill this entire gap with the selenite infused crystal powder, so that way when the epoxy hardens we have a nice little crystal bead that's in the center of this form that'll take the form of that recess. But this is going to be quite a complex little finishing construction in terms of the edge angles I'm going to create, in terms of the finishing work so I don't screw up the patterning that I put in the blade. It's going to be quite pretty, I think, but the only way to know is to do it, so let's get over to the grinder and start hogging off some material.
So as you can see with the angle grinder, I just knocked off most of the forge scale and made sure everything was nice and tuned up. Now I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all those deep grinder marks that the angle grinder left behind doing this and get it basically to a roughly finished state, so that way we can go ahead and heat treat.
So we've got our rough polish work done before heat treat. It's not as pretty as it's going to be when it's finished, obviously, but you can really see the detail work that I put in there pop now. You can see that fuller really well up the length of the blade, and all that leafing that we did. That'll be a little bit more exposed once we do our final polish, but we are now ready to go ahead, stick this in the fire, and harden up this steel. And hopefully the welds don't come apart. Hopefully the sword doesn't warp like crazy. Hopefully it doesn't explode. There's a lot that could go wrong because there's a lot of tension that I built up in this sword. So if the heat treat goes well and the testing goes well, then this sword's good to go. But if the heat treat goes bad, it's going to be a lot of wasted time. So let's get the fire lit and roll the dice. So we have just finished our quench and everything stayed nice and straight on this blade. We didn't get any warpage, we didn't get it to pop, it didn't go bang. Everything turned out all right in the end. And just to show you guys, passes the file test just fine. It escaped the file, no problem. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean this back up, get it tempered, all that jazz, and I will be back to you guys once it is all polished and tempered and ready to become a sword. So I'm back from cleanup grinding, and as you can see, we've got our edges ground in. And those are just tiny little extra angles that I've added, except for up here. Up here it's kind of complex. You see how stout that edge is on the tip? That is a thrusting point that is real thick, and then it gets thinner, and the whole blade is the same thickness from there. Our edge is razor sharp on all parts, and especially on this recurve section from here to here. It's very, very sharp through here and all the way down from there. It holds that same angle. It is duller, obviously, up at the point from about here up, but that is for thrusting purposes, so that way it's really durable and it has a very penetrative, high power kind of stab to it. Now, as you can see by the gloves, I'm about to gun blue this thing up to give it its final, let's say, finish. Are now back from bluing up this beautiful sword blade, and as you can see, we've got a nice reflective silvery finish on the whole blade, but you can see those markings really well all the way through the blade for that feathering. You can also see the guard vines very well and the pommel vinage very well also. Quite a beautiful beast. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get the handle wrapped, and then I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do about getting that crushed crystal in there. We've got our blade all finished up. We've got that nice little gel inside of there that's got crystal inside of it. So it's like a crystal powder gel. That'll harden up a little more and get a little shinier once it's finished hardening. And once that finishes hardening, it'll be a little clearer, so the light will shine through it a little better. But we've got a nice stout gladius handle around that spiral. So that spiral is actually the tang. We've got a really strong twisted tang in there. We've got that really cool coin pommel that sticks out underneath that guard, and then we've got that double-edged gladius zyphos style blade. This has been a long series in making, and the next video will be cut testing with this beast to see how it does. So make sure to do those things right there so you don't miss out when I do the cut testing with this crazy sword. I hope you guys like what you've seen. If you did, do me a favor and do those things that popped up earlier. If not, it's on you. But if you're looking for a custom sharp object, check out the Etsy store. The link will be at the end of the video. I sell swords like this, knives, polearms, axes, all kinds of stuff on that Etsy store.